Authority doing enough to stop the erection of unsafe buildings. It is now time for a one-on-one with Ledama Olekina, the ODM Senate candidate for Narok County. NASA is expecting to visit Narok County tomorrow on its vote-hunting mission, days after Jubilee visited the area. The county that is generally considered a swing vote has become a vote-hunting ground for ODM and Jubilee, KANU and Chama Chamashinani. But who will carry the day? Olekina, welcome to Morning Express this morning. And first of all, you are now the ODM candidate who's going to be going for the Senate seat in that particular area, Narok. So let us know why Ledama Olekina.
Thank you, Gitonga. First of all, let me correct you. The NASA fraternity will not be going to Narok tomorrow. That has, to my knowledge, has since been cancelled.
Okay.
And secondly, Narok is not a swing vote. Narok is strictly ODM and mostly strongly NASA. Now, for the reason why I'm going for the Senate position, it's very clear. Since we got the new constitution or the devolved government structure, the Senate has not clearly played its role. The governors have been running as semi-gods. In essence, we have moved back from the gains that we gained during the
promulgation of the Constitution.
Promulgation of the Constitution during the old government of Mwai Kibaki. We are now back to where we were before.
What makes you say that we're back to where we were? What is it that has not been done?
It is not what has been done, but what is being done. What is currently being done is that we have roadside declarations. We've got the president, we've got the governors going out and saying, I've given you 2 million shillings, I've given you 10 million shillings. They'll go to any ward in the county or in the counties and give cash. You know, every so often in my county, you'll hear that the current governor will go in and say, I've given you 5 million. Those are roadside declarations. These are taxpayers' money. And someone who has got an interest in the revenues or taxpayers' money has got to go there and protect them. The Senate role is to supervise, is to play oversight authority and ensure that you protect the interests of the people of Kenya. So I feel that the current Senate hasn't really played that part in protecting the interests of the people, and people feel like they're indebted to the governors who, you know, they're running around like some semi-gods.
So you don't feel like Stephen Olentutu has done a good job so far?
I don't. I'm not saying Stephen Olentutu has not done a good job. I said the current institution of the Senate hasn't performed its task, solely for various reasons. When you look at even the bills that they've discussed about 100 bills. Maybe only 6 of them have become acts of parliament. And I think it is too quick to really say that they could have done X, Y, and Z. But what is clear on the ground is that the governors are behaving as if they are the semi-gods.
So what is it that Ledama is bringing on board that has not been done before? Because if you feel it's generally the Senate, are you saying then that you've got the one bullet that will change the Senate as...
No, I'm not saying that. I think what we need to call for is a fiduciary responsibility. What we are looking for is a position whereby there is adequate public participation in the lawmaking. What you're finding, Gitonga, is that the people of Narok have no clue of what the role of the Senate is. So the first thing that Ledama is going to bring on board is to ensure that the people of Narok really do understand what is the purpose of the Senate. That is number one. And one thing that I'm really going to push forward for is really to encourage a lot of public participation. What we fought for with the new constitution is that we were given 6 positions. That is the president, the governor, the MP, the MCA, the Senate, and the women rep. The people of Kenya need to feel these people on the ground. Currently, they're not feeling them on the ground. Actually, the only person they are really feeling on the ground is their member of the county assembly. So we need to empower these people.
When we talk about feeling someone on the ground, because I remember this was also repeated by one of the women rep that we had here this morning, what exactly do you mean? Because you've ably described the job of the senator, one of them being oversight legislation and ensuring that things run the way. It's basically an oversight role. When you say that your presence needs to be felt on the ground, what exactly do you mean?
If you're very clear about the role of the Senate, then you need to understand that for you to be felt on the ground, you as a citizen of that county, interest has got to be represented. Currently, there's zero public participation. So we need to go on the ground such that if there's a budget which is being considered for, let's say, Melelo Ward, for instance, in Narok, you as a resident of Melelo has got to contribute to that budget. You've got to say, this is what we need. When you traverse the county of Narok, for instance, you will find that a lot of people don't have water. If you go to a place like Olderkesi, women are digging the sand to get water. So they, the people of Olderkesi, they, the people of Melelo, have got to participate in the budget-making process. They have got to say, we want water. These are the priorities. So at the moment, the governor sits in his office, the MCA sits in his office, and they say, we'll give Melelo maybe a bus, a school bus. When the people of Melelo are saying, come on,
what
give
they
us
need
water
is water.
first.
How will you actualize this? Because it sounds all good on paper. And I mean, this is something that we hear a lot during this campaign period, that I will make sure I am present. I'll make sure the people are represented. There are so many promises. How will you do that?
A very good question. The way I intend to do that is to ensure that currently in Narok we have 30 wards. For each of the 30 wards, my proposal, and I will work clearly in the Senate to ensure that that becomes law, whereby in the Senate, we will try to make sure that there is more money so that the office of the Senate can employ 3 people. One will be somebody who will be a budget coordinator, who will work closely with the control of budget and also with the county government. Number 2, we will have somebody who will also be close to the Auditor General's office and also the county government. The Auditor General has always said that he is not empowered. He doesn't have enough resources to be able to do the job. And number 3, we will also have a monitoring and evaluation person. If you have these three people who are answerable to the people of that particular ward, and they work directly with your office in the Senate, then you will be able to deliver. The challenge is, right now, as a senator, you are in Nairobi. You're working very well to send money to the ground. But you don't have the powers to be able to go in and ensure that that money is fully implemented. I know the senator will not build a road, but the senator will ensure that that road is built. One of my biggest problems with the current Senate is that in the last election, in the last 5 years, or 4 years to say, we had serious problems of fiduciary responsibilities in Narok. When the petition was brought to the Senate, and that is actually in the record, the Senate committee that investigated that matter found that there was a misappropriation of funds in the current administration. But what they did is that they just gave the current government a slap in the face and said, we've seen that there's a problem here, go correct it. Okay? What they needed to do is to say, refund all this money. You know, come and explain properly why you've done that.
Account for the money.
You have to account for the money.
For you to solve a problem, you need to know the root cause.
Yes.
What would you say is the reason that the Senate has not done the job as per your expectation and as per the Constitution?
I think, first of all, there's been a lot of bickering. There's been a lot of fighting between the two houses of how much power each house has.
Who is the bigger house?
Who is the bigger house with the lower house? That's number one. Number two, there have also been an issue which I clearly elaborated, that the current governors have been acting as semi-gods. They have all this money. When you actually go around and you do a proper audit on how the resources in the county government has been utilized, you will be surprised. You know, when you go around, all these governors across board, 47 of them, they are using helicopters as if they are, you know, SUVs. And they are paying that money directly from the public affair. and it's not even accounted for in the budget. They're doing a lot of advertisement for their own interest. Even the current Jubilee administration, they're doing a lot of advertisement for the election using public money. So you really have got to have a fiduciary responsibility. And I think it is time to illuminate the public on how their funds are utilized. Because if you just come up there and say, I've given you this amount of money, people will start looking at the governors as if they are semi-gods. So I think with my presence in the Senate, it will be time for us to be able to really push hard to ensure that Njoroge, Ledama, or my son on the ground, or Kiplangat on the ground, is benefiting. We've got serious challenges. You know, we have to do what the work of the government has got to do.
Would you attribute it to lack of accountability on the parts of the governor? Is it that the Senate has not been able to have enough power to make their presence felt? What exactly has been the problem which you, once get into the Senate, are intending to alter so that now, if it's accountability, then it is clear that the governors have accounted for their money? Or have used it as per what is required by the people on the ground?
Two very important things. Once you educate the public that this money does not belong to the governor, that this is their money, even the old shosho or grandmother or kokoo who is going to the market, she's paying taxes. Once you enlighten her, you've got to illuminate her. You've got to show her that this is your money. Then she's going to start calling for fiduciary responsibility. What I feel has happened is that there has been a disconnect between the senator and the governor, for instance, because the senator doesn't have a lot of resources in his part, but the senator has not been utilizing his powers given by the Constitution. If you look at the Constitution, it's very clear. There are several articles. If you go to probably, I think, Article 109 to 113, it focuses on the Constitution. It focuses on the lawmaking. You know, where we, as in the Senate, have got to spend time in making laws that protects the interest of the people, that protects the county governments and also the people in the counties. You know, we cannot have 47 counties and not account for those resources. We have a lot of resources in this country. There's no reason as to why our people should be suffering, you know, on the ground. If you traverse the counties, particularly my county of Narok, you'll be amazed by a lot of wastage in public resources. You'll also be amazed by a lot of untapped resources that I think once we have a system that works clearly, that recognizes that the Senate has got its role to be the supervisor. The governor has got its role to execute what the people want executed.
All right. Let's look at something different, and this is to do with something that may come up in the Senate today, and this is to do with preparedness for IEBC.
Yes.
And we only have a number of days, less than 60 days, I think it's 57 there, or 56, before we get to the election. Do you feel that IEBC is prepared?
I don't. I think IEBC, like every other institution in this government, has been dealing with things from a knee-jerk reaction point of view. You find that there's a problem here, then you rush to solve that problem. Currently, as we speak, the database, the IEBC database, is wrong. When you look at the number of dead people, which was confirmed by the KPMG audit, which was done, there are so many people in the register who died. So for me, I feel like IEBC would have been better prepared if all systems of governance were working. For instance, when someone's died, you get a death certificate. That information ought to be communicated to the Registrar of Persons and then strictly sent directly to IEBC so that that person can be expunged out of the register. That's number one. Number two, I think we as politicians have also contributed heavily in the delays. We complain a lot, which is the cost of democracy. I think in a democratic state, there are things that you feel should be done in a better way, and
everybody has a right to be heard.
And everybody has a right to be heard. But I think, given a chance, I still believe that the people who are managing the IEBC would probably be able to deliver a good election. And I think the problem is this. When we keep on challenging things, one of my pet peeves is this. The Constitution is clear. The laws are clear. If a lower court, a superior court, passes a judgment and says the results must be final on the polling station, there's really no point of us challenging that again and saying, no, bring them to Nairobi so that they can be announced here. I think that issue, that interest, there's a lot of interest, which I'm still trying to figure out where that interest is coming from, to see that things don't go right in this country.
And that, some have argued, is from all sides of the political divide. However, coming back to your point of, contesting, could it be that as Kenyans, maybe, and I'd like to hear your point as a politician, that we suffer more from lack of trust as opposed to lack of legislation? Because the laws are there.
I think
but we seem to use them to basically for our own benefit, selfish gain.
Two things. One, I think experience is the best teacher. I think so far what we've experienced with all electoral bodies has been a lot of mistrust. So there's no way you can expect that to be able to leave or that to be able to come out of our minds. That's number one. Number two, I think it's the issue of perception. I was actually perplexed and amazed when I read in the papers today that the current deputy president is now trying to erode the emotions of the ICC cases, saying that if NASA takes over, they will revive the ICC cases. And that is actually wrong, because we've got to agree to move on. You know, it is actually very dangerous, because on the ground, people are saying, no, let us have these sympathy votes so that we can protect these people, we can protect our brothers. And what is really ailing this country is this issue of my brother, my clansmate, my tribesmate. So I think we really have got to remove that perception. So there are two issues, experience and perception. Politics is all about perception. If people perceive you to have a lot of money, to be able to understand things better, then they would probably go for you. But maybe when you go there, you're just someone who is a very good actor. So in a way, I feel like we have a long way to go as a democracy. It is quite sad that institutions of government do not work independently. It is quite sad that instead of calling for fiduciary responsibility, instead of now bringing services to the people for them to be able to grow the economy, we're killing it. One of the things that I cannot afford to stay without mentioning is the issue of the flour. There's no unga in the shelves. And I think that has been brought by several factors. One, which is very clear that no one is talking about it, is the issue of price control. If you put, assuming now you're a distributor and you're buying things from Machakos, you come all the way to Nairobi to buy the product, you buy them at 85 shillings. The government expects you to sell it at 90 shillings. If you go, what about your fuel? What about your profit? So I think this issue of price control in history has never worked.
Okay.
So there are so many problems that we are facing right now, trying to have a quick fix, instead of now letting the economy take shape and grow. It's the same problems we are having with our electoral body.
All right. As we wind up, Ledama Olekina, speak to the people of Narok as candidate for senator. What is it that they must hold you to account for should they elect you?
Thank you.
And make it very specific, because sometimes politicians will talk about things that, you cannot pinpoint. I will do this, I will do. What is it that they can hold you accountable to, such that if they elect you, come the end of the term, they can say you did not deliver or you delivered?
Thank you, Gitonga. I think, should I look at this camera?
Yes, that's the camera right there.
I think one of the key things that I want the people of Narok to hold me accountable for is my ability to be able to demand for fiduciary responsibility. One of the biggest problems that we're facing in Narok right now is the lack of public participation. I want the people of Narok to believe that with me as their senator, the people on the ground, the grandmother on the ground, the little boy on the ground, who I'm afraid that if we do not do something about the youth, the population of the youth, Gitonga, right now when you go to Narok, 80% of the people of Narok are youth and they're unemployed. So my task is to ensure that the county government does its job. If it is creating employment, you create employment. If it is giving contracts, there's no point of giving contracts to people who are outside Narok when there are people who are qualified who can be given those contracts. So the people of Narok should hold me accountable in ensuring that in every financial year we do a proper audit and ensure that those contractors in Narok, those women groups in Narok, those youth in Narok have been given an opportunity to be able to participate in the growth. So I request the people of Narok to consider me during the August election and give me an opportunity to serve them, because I believe that I'm the solution to their problems.
Thank you very much, Ledama Olekina, their political analyst and politician and ODM nominee for Narok Senate seat. Thank you for joining us this morning. Candidate, sorry.
Thank you very much.
Candidate for Senate seat in Narok. Wish you all the best.
Thank you,
and I'm sure we'll be having more conversations as we continue. Well, that's where we wind up Morning Express this morning. And thank you so much for keeping